Okay, let's dive in. We're looking at a really chilling story today. Christmas Eve, 1945, Fayetteville, West Virginia.
That's right, the Sodder family. A night that should have been full of joy.
Absolutely. 9 of their 10 kids were home. You picture it right.
Yeah.
Christmas excitement, new toys waiting.
Yeah, just a normal family getting ready for Christmas morning.
And this is where everything just goes sideways. We're pulling this from a really detailed account from Nexpo.
It's that stark contrast, isn't it? The festive scene and then just horror. Really gets under your skin.
It does. So the parents, George and Jenny, they'd gone to bed with the youngest, Sylvia. The other kids were upstairs, mostly asleep. Marion, the eldest daughter, she was downstairs keeping an eye on some of the younger ones who were still up late.
Still caught up in the excitement, I imagine.
Probably. And 2 of the boys, Maurice and Louis, they'd even popped outside quickly to feed the animals before coming in. Just normal family stuff.
Those little details, the routine things, they make what happens next feel even more brutal.
Exactly. Then, around 12:30 a.m., things start getting weird. The phone rings.
Wakes Jenny up.
Right. And it's not a normal call. It's some woman asking for someone they don't know, but there's this strange laughter in the background.
Creepy. Just a wrong number, maybe, but still
Yeah.
unsettling.
Very. Jenny hangs up and then she notices.
Hello?
The lights are on downstairs, the curtains are open, the front door is unlocked.
Oh, okay, that's not just a weird phone call anymore. That's odd.
Right. She locks the door, closes the curtains, turns off the lights, heads back to bed. Probably feeling pretty uneasy, I'd guess.
You'd think so. It feels like a warning almost, like something's already wrong before the main event.
Totally. And then, not long after she's back in bed, she hears it. A loud thump on the roof.
A thump.
Yeah, like something heavy hit it.
Yeah.
Followed by a kind of rolling sound. And then, smell.
Smoke.
Accurate smoke. She wakes George. They realize the house, his office specifically, is on fire.
And it spreads fast.
Incredibly fast.
Yeah.
Panic, obviously. They try the phone again.
Let me guess, dead.
Dead.
Yeah.
Completely dead. George, Jenny, Sylvia, Marion, they managed to get out. 2 of the older boys, John and George Jr., who were surprisingly downstairs, they also escape.
Okay, so some get out, but not everyone.
No. They realize 5 children are still trapped upstairs. Maurice, Martha, Louis, Jenny, and Betty.
Oh, God. Upstairs in a rapidly spreading fire.
It's horrific.
Yeah.
And then begins this series of just impossibly blocked rescue attempts. George runs for the ladder.
The one they always kept leaning against the house.
That's the one. It's gone. Just not there.
Run how?
No idea at that moment. Then he tries to start their trucks, thinking maybe he can pull up to the window.
Okay, good idea.
Neither truck will start. Both of them. Stone dead.
Both. That's more than coincidence, surely.
It feels like it, right? They even had a barrel of water nearby for fires.
Let me guess, frozen.
Frozen solid. It's the middle of winter, but still, every single option blocked. All George can do is scream for his kids as the house burns down around them.
It's just devastating. Helpless.
Meanwhile, Marion, she runs to a neighbor's house. They need to call the fire department.
Right, because their phone was cut. Or dead.
Exactly. Now get this, the firehouse, it's only 2.5 miles away.
Okay, so help should be there fast.
You'd think. But the fire trucks don't show up for 7 hours.
7 hours? That can't be right. Why?
It's never been fully explained. By the time they arrive, the house is gone. Just a smoking basement filled with debris.
And the children?
This is the core of the mystery. The firefighters sift through the ashes and find nothing.
Nothing. No bodies, no bones.
Absolutely nothing. Not a single trace of the 5 children.
How is that possible, even in an intense fire?
Well, fire chief at the time, F.J. Morris, he declares them dead.
Yeah.
His explanation. The fire was so hot it completely cremated them, bones and all.
Complete cremation in a house fire. That sounds unlikely, doesn't it?
Very unlikely.
Yeah.
But a coroner's jury is quickly assembled. They rule the fire accidental. Faulty wiring.
Faulty wiring. Okay.
Death certificates are issued. Case closed, it seems.
But-
Horrible tragedy.
But obviously, it wasn't case closed for the Sodder.
Not even close. This is where things start to unravel, where the accident theory really starts falling apart.
Okay, so what tips them off? Besides the, lack of remains.
Well, first, they get a telephone repairman out. He looks at the line.
They didn't.
It wasn't burnt. It wasn't melted. It was cut. Cleanly cut, high up on the pole.
Cut. So someone deliberately severed their phone line. You'd need a ladder for that.
Exactly. And then George finds something. Remember the missing ladder?
Yeah, the one that wasn't there during the fire.
He finds it. Thrown down an embankment at the back of their property, kind of hidden away.
Whoa! Okay, so the ladder wasn't just misplaced. Someone took it and hid it. and cut the phone line.
It certainly looks that way. And that faulty wiring cause. George and Jenny remember something crucial.
What's that?
The lights were on in the house when they escaped. If it was an electrical fire that bad, wouldn't the power have been knocked out?
You'd absolutely think so. Yeah, that doesn't fit the faulty wiring story at all.
Right. So they start thinking, this wasn't an accident. This was arson.
A deliberately set fire with steps taken to prevent rescue and calls for help. That's horrifying.
But it's the lack of remains that Jenny just can't accept. She can't believe 5 children could just vanish into ash.
A mother's instinct. You wouldn't be able to rest.
She couldn't. She actually did her own kind of grim experiments. Tried burning chicken bones, other animal bones in her stove.
To see if they'd completely disappear.
Yeah, they didn't. They charred, but they were still there. Then she spoke to someone at a crematorium.
And what did they say?
Confirmed it. Human bones remain after cremation temperatures, let alone a house fire. They don't just turn to powder.
So the official explanation just doesn't hold water? Scientifically, it seems impossible?
Pretty much. Which leads the Sodders to a terrifying alternative conclusion.
If they didn't die in the fire.
Then they must have been taken. Kidnapped.
Oh man, from a house fire scenario to potential kidnapping, that's a huge, terrifying leap.
It is. And once they start thinking that way, other strange things from before the fire start clicking into place, you know.
Like what? What else had happened?
Well, a month before, this traveler showed up looking for work. George didn't have any, but the guy looked around, pointed at their fuse boxes, and said something really weird, like, these are going to cause a fire someday.
Okay, that's unsettling in hindsight.
Definitely. Then there was a guy, another stranger, just sitting in a car near their house sometimes, watching the kids playing in the yard. Made Jenny nervous.
Just watching them. Creepy.
And then there's the Nick situation, a former business associate of George's.
Okay.
They'd had a big falling out. George was an Italian immigrant, very outspoken against Mussolini. Nick apparently disagreed strongly.
Political tensions.
Yep. And Nick allegedly threatened George. Said his house would go up in smoke and his children would be destroyed or paid for his remarks about Mussolini.
That's a direct threat. A very specific threat, given what happened.
Unbelievably specific. And get this, Nick had also, for some reason, just before the fire, taken out a bigger insurance policy on George's house.
He increased the insurance on George's house. Why would he do that?
Nobody knows. It's incredibly suspicious. And then, of course, that weird phone call right before the fire started.
Right, the laughing woman.
All these things, they start to paint a picture, don't they?
They really do. It feels less like random chance and more like pieces being put into place.
But the weirdness didn't stop after the fire either. There were reports.
More strangeness.
Okay. Someone who was watching the fire claimed they saw a local guy, known sort of low-level thief named Lonnie Johnson, messing around in the ashes taking something.
Stealing from the ruins.
Well, Johnson later admitted he did steal something, a block and tackle, after the fire was out. But then he adds this bizarre detail. He claims he was the one who cut the Sodders phone line the night before the fire. He said he used their ladder to do it because he was planning to steal something else and didn't want them to call the cops if they caught him. He denied starting the fire, though.
Wait, he cut the line using their ladder? That confession seems convenient, almost. And why confess that part? Very strange.
Totally strange. Then, a bus driver came forward. Said he was driving past late that night and saw people throwing balls of fire at the house.
Balls of fire. Like Molotov cocktails or something.
Sounds like it. And maybe the most concrete piece of evidence, later. Little Sylvia, the youngest daughter, she found something odd in the yard. A small, dark green, pineapple-shaped object.
Okay.
Her older brother, John, who was home from the army, recognized it immediately. It was an incendiary grenade, a fire-starting bomb.
An incendiary device found in the yard. That points directly to arson, doesn't it? And potentially starting the fire upstairs, not faulty wiring in the basement office?
Exactly. And then the sighting.
Sightings of the children.
Yes. 2 different women reported seeing some of the Sodder children alive after the fire.
Alive? Where?
One woman ran a roadside tourist stop between Fayetteville and Charleston. She said she saw the kids in a car with Florida license plates the morning after the fire. Said the adults with them wouldn't let her give the kids food.
Florida plates. And the other sighting?
A woman working at a hotel in Charleston, West Virginia. She said she saw 4 of the 5 missing kids about a week later. They were with 2 men and 2 women. All looked Italian extraction, she said. They were unfriendly, wouldn't let her talk to the kids, and left abruptly after she saw them.
Italian speakers, unfriendly, Florida plates. Could that connect back to George's anti-Mussolini stance, the threats from Nick?
It's certainly a theory the Sodders considered. It all feels connected somehow.
So with all this mounting evidence, the cut line, the ladder, the grenade, the sightings, the threats, what did the authorities do?
Well, the Sodders tried everything. They wrote to the FBI. J. Edgar Hoover himself actually replied.
Did the FBI get involved?
Nope. Hoover wrote back saying it was a local matter and didn't fall under federal jurisdiction unless kidnapping could be proven across state lines, which they couldn't definitively do.
Frustrating. So it stayed local.
Yes. They hired a private investigator, a guy named C.C. Tinsley. He dug around.
Find anything.
He heard a really disturbing rumor that the fire chief, Morris, the one who said they were totally cremated, actually found something in the ashes.
Found what?
A human heart, supposedly.
Yeah.
And that Morris had secretly buried it in a metal box on the property.
What? Why would he do that?
Tinsley told George, and George went digging. He found a metal box.
And the heart was in it?
It was. Beef liver, untouched by the fire.
Beef liver. What on earth?
George confronted Morris. And Morris admitted it. He confessed he planted the beef liver there.
Planted it. Why?
His explanation was just bizarre. He said he hoped the Sodders would find it, think it was remains, and then finally accept their children were dead and stop investigating. Give them closure, he claimed.
That's not closure, that's obstruction. And incredibly cruel. Did anything happen to him?
Doesn't seem like it. And that liver, it was given to the local funeral director, who then gave it to the coroner, and then it supposedly disappeared.
The planted evidence just vanishes. This whole local response seems compromised, doesn't it?
Deeply. And Tinsley, the PI, found out something else. Remember Nick? The guy who threatened George and raised the insurance?
Yeah.
He was on the coroner's jury. The one that ruled the fire, an accident caused by faulty wiring.
You're kidding me. The guy who threatened them helped rule it an accident? That's a massive conflict of interest.
Massive. The Sodders took this to the local prosecuting attorney, demanding Nick be investigated.
Did he?
Nope. Refused. Apparently the prosecutor was good friends with Nick. Said he wouldn't pursue it.
Wow. It really feels like they were hitting brick walls everywhere, possibly deliberately placed ones.
It certainly looks that way. So, feeling completely failed by the system, the Sodders took matters into their own hands publicly.
The billboard.
That famous billboard, yeah. Went up in 1953, right along Route 16. Pictures of the 5 missing children. A plea for information. A reward offered.
A very public declaration that they did not believe the official story and they were still searching.
Exactly. And they never stopped searching. George and Jenny followed up on leads for decades, drove all over the country.
Any leads seem promising.
They chased down countless sightings. George once went all the way to New York City because he saw a picture of a ballet dancer in a magazine he thought looked like his daughter Betty.
Did he meet her?
He did, but unfortunately it wasn't her. Jenny even, at one point, suspected her own brother down in Florida might somehow be involved, though that seemed to stem more from desperation, just grabbing at anything.
The agony of not knowing must have been unbearable, chasing ghosts for years.
Absolutely, and the strange communications didn't entirely stop either.
More letters.
Yeah, in 1966, a letter came claiming Louis and Maurice were both alive and well, living somewhere in Texas.
Did they follow up?
They did, send an investigator, but it led nowhere. Just another dead end.
Heartbreaking.
Then, probably the most tantalizing and final piece of correspondence arrived in 1967.
What was it?
A photograph, mailed to Jenny, postmarked in Kentucky, with no return address.
A photo of what?
A young man, probably in his late 20s, and he bore a striking resemblance to their son Louis, who would have been about that age.
Wow. Did it look like him?
The family thought so. On the back of the photo, someone had written cryptic notes. Louis Sodder, I love brother Frankie, you little boys, and a number sequence.
Strange. Did they trace it?
They hired another private investigator, specifically to look into this Kentucky photo lead. The investigator went to Kentucky and disappeared. Never heard from again.
The PI vanished. Just like that.
Just like that, adding another layer of, frankly, sinister mystery to the whole thing. That photo was really the last major lead they ever had. George Sodder passed away not long after in 1969. Jenny wore black for the rest of her life, tending the memorial garden she made until she died in 1989. The billboard finally came down in 2022 after the last surviving child, Sylvia, passed away.
So the case remains officially unsolved, just hanging there.
Completely unsolved. We're left with this tangle of contradictions. A devastating fire, but no remains. Strong evidence of arson, the cut line, the ladder, the grenade,
The failed rescue attempts, the delayed fire response.
the sightings of the children afterwards, the suspicious characters like Nick, the bizarre behavior of the fire chief.
The planted evidence, the potential cover-up, the vanished PI.
It just doesn't add up to a simple accident.
Yeah.
You can't help but think about the decades of pain for that family. Never knowing, always searching, always wondering.
That uncertainty, as sometimes people say it's worse than knowing the worst truth. For the Sodders, it was a lifetime of it.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? Listening to all these elements, what do you lean towards?
Yeah.
Was it all just a series of incredibly bizarre coincidences masking a tragic accident?
Or was it something much darker? A planned arson. A kidnapping, possibly linked to George's past or his outspoken views. The evidence pointing away from accident seems pretty compelling.
It really does. It's one of those cases that just sticks with you. The mystery of the Sodder children vanished on Christmas Eve. A chilling reminder that sometimes the truth stays hidden. And maybe, just maybe, someone out there still knows what really happened that night.
A deeply unsettling thought to end on. The not knowing is what makes it endure, I think.